Far away, in a distant corner of the universe, lies a mysterious planet called Celestara, home to a unique civilization unlike any other. The people of this world are different. They have no childhood. They never truly age, nor do they ever really die. After a long, dreamless slumber, each of them awakens into life as a young adult, carrying faint traces of memories from countless past cycles of existence. It is said that their souls never forget the instinct to survive, no matter how many lifetimes they've lived. Here on Celestara, relationships are bound by one of the harshest traditions in the galaxy. A couple who wishes to become life partners must fight one another in a battle to the death. The victor becomes the master, while the defeated becomes the bound one, destined to obey for the rest of their shared existence. This ritual, meant only for those who truly loved each other, unexpectedly entangles two prodigies, Darian Vale and Elias Steele, top students of Azure Sky Academy, rivals since the day they met. No one could have predicted that these two sworn competitors would one day become the most important people in each other's lives, their fates tied together for eternity. Was it destiny's cruel joke, or an unbreakable bond written in the stars? Chapter 1. The Azure Sky Academy. In the high tower of the academy, the headmaster, a calm man with silver-gray eyes, stood by the window, gazing at a group of students sparring in the courtyard below. His voice was quiet, almost nostalgic. "When I was young," he said softly, "I once met a traveler from a faraway galaxy. He had eyes so blue they seemed to hold an entire ocean within them, eyes one could never forget." A younger teacher, tall and broad-shouldered, stood silently behind him. His own eyes were pitch black, so dark that even light seemed to disappear within them. On this planet, eye color was more than just appearance. It determined a person's stage of life and their status in society. Most of the young students had misty, smoke-colored eyes, a sign of youth. Only a few, whose eyes began to shift toward clearer hues, were close to awakening, on the verge of transforming into full adults. The people of Celestara did not experience birth or death as other species did. After a long, dreamlike sleep, each would awaken as a teenager, already knowing how to speak, fight, and survive. They had no parents, no families. All were born equal, raised together, and guided by the elders of the community until they completed their coming-of-age ritual. Once awakened, they remained in their adult form until the next deep sleep, only to repeat the cycle again. Thus, their existence had continued for thousands of years. In one of the academy's courtyards, the students of Class 10 were discussing their physical test results. "I heard 2 people scored the full 300 points this time." "That has to be Elias and Darian," another replied. "But who scored higher?" "My money's on Elias. No way, Darian's definitely stronger." Unbeknownst to them, Elias himself was walking just a few steps behind. Though he didn't show it, he already knew the truth. His instructor had hinted that Darian had surpassed him by a narrow margin. The two had awakened around the same time and studied side by side for nearly 10 years. By all accounts, they should have been close friends. Yet their pride had kept them apart. Elias's fierce pride and Darian's quiet arrogance and emotionless confidence. In nearly every field, Darian ranked just 1 point higher. That single point was enough to keep Elias stuck in second place year after year, his only consolation being that he was a few inches taller than his rival. That, so far, was his one and only victory. "Hey, little Elias, why the gloomy face?" teased Lance, Elias's friend, throwing an arm around his shoulders. "Don't tell me you lost to him again?" Elias glared but didn't deny it. Lance laughed. "Come on, man. Turn that frustration into fuel. You'll beat him next time." Elias's expression hardened. "Next time, I'll surpass him. Just wait and see." They argued playfully all the way to the classroom. At the door, Elias said, "And stop calling me little Elias. You only woke 6 months earlier, but that doesn't make you older." "Sure," Lance teased. "We'll see who matures first." When the class bell rang, students filled the room with chatter and laughter. Then, as Darian walked in, silence rippled through the air. Elias straightened up and said coldly, "Congratulations." Darian barely glanced at him, expression unreadable, before heading to his seat in the back. The tension between them was obvious to everyone. Elias's pride burned. One day, he thought fiercely, "I'll make him kneel. He'll be my bound one, obeying me for life." He spoke the words aloud before he realized it. The entire class froze in shock, then burst into whispers. The master-bound relationship was a mysterious topic, half taboo, half fascination, especially to teenagers about to awaken. They'd only read about it in forbidden books. To hear Elias say it directly was both shocking and thrilling. Someone laughed nervously. "Elias, you really dared to say that out loud?" The silence broke, and everyone started teasing and joking again. One boy whispered gossip about their Mecha instructor who had complained to his bound one through a comlink that he was completely exhausted. 4 times in one night. The class roared with laughter. Elias crossed his arms. 4? That's nothing. When I'm a master, I'll go 7 times. Make my bound stay in bed for 3 days. He deliberately glanced toward Darian. For once, Darian looked up and met his eyes. The room erupted in cheers and whistles, teasing louder than before. Their laughter was cut short when Dr. Veda Jade, the Academy's health instructor, stepped into the room. She caught the last part of Elias's bold declaration and sighed quietly. "Reckless kids," she thought. "If only discipline could replace these lessons, I'd tie him to a chair and be done with it." Her sharp heels echoed against the floor, silencing the chatter instantly. Dr. Jade was tall, poised, and confident, her eyes dark as night. Students secretly called her the Iron Queen. She was the Academy's medical instructor, though not a full-time teacher. When she spoke, the class fell silent. "Since no one seems to understand the topic properly," she said, tapping on the board, "we'll begin a new course today, Human Physiology and Maturity." She drew the silhouettes of a man and a woman on the digital board. "Our kind," she began, "differs greatly from most life forms in the universe. We reproduce asexually, without families or parents. We experience only 2 stages of life, youth and adulthood." Her tone was calm, but every word carried weight. Some awaken to adulthood as early as age 4, others not until 18. But for most, about 10 years after awakening, the transformation begins. The students exchanged nervous glances. Many were at that exact turning point. Dr. Jade continued, "Though we don't reproduce like other species, that doesn't mean we lack instincts. Bonding, or what you might call ketir, helps us enter our second development, becoming true adults." She paused, letting the meaning sink in. Then she turned to a new topic. "In other star systems, things are very different. People are born into families, into wealth or poverty, privilege or hardship. Their lives are unequal from the very start. Some are destined to rule, others to serve. That inequality shapes their entire existence." The students listened in stunned silence. To them, such inequality was unimaginable. Most had never imagined a world where people were born from other people, or divided by class and wealth. Dr. Jade smiled faintly. "Here on Celestara, we are all born equal, free of family, free of hierarchy. But that equality comes with a price. Because when no one is born higher or lower, the only thing that matters is how hard you fight." She struck the board sharply. "And that," she declared, "is why we have the harshest hierarchy in the universe, the bond between master and bound one." End of Chapter 1.
Chapter 2. The Awakening. Radiant Star, known in ancient records as Asi, is the seventh star of the Celestial Seven, a constellation revered by scholars. Legend says each star is guarded by a celestial warden, whose presence will echo throughout this story. The sound of Dr. Jade's hand striking the holographic board echoed through the quiet classroom. Her calm yet commanding voice rippled across the room, reaching every young soul of Azure Sky Academy. And after awakening, she began, each of you will enter what we call the conscious phase. Most Celestaran youths reach it around their 10th cycle of life. Her tone carried the weight of generations. See, there are two main ways awakening begins naturally, through growth or through proximity to someone whose awakening is already complete. When that happens, emotions and instincts ripple through those nearby, triggering their own transformation. The students leaned forward, a mix of curiosity and nerves. So, she continued, if one student awakens, others nearby may soon follow. That's why, when change begins, do not panic. What you feel, the pulse, the heat, the longing, is natural. A boy raised his hand hesitantly. Dr. Jade, what exactly is the maturity ritual? A ripple of laughter spread through the class when someone whispered, that's when people pair up. Dr. Jade smiled faintly. Incorrect. Pairing isn't the ritual, not even part of it. The laughter died down. The true maturity ritual, she said, her gaze sharp, is when one partner draws the first drop of blood from the other's heart. That moment determines who becomes the master and who becomes the bound one. The class fell silent. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. Strength decides. The one who takes the blood becomes the master, the one who gives it the bound. Another hand went up. What if two people love each other, but one hasn't awakened yet? Then they wait, Dr. Jade replied. An unawakened soul cannot give or take blood, but sometimes love itself can trigger awakening, especially when two hearts stay close. She paused before continuing, her eyes scanning the faces before her. When the bond is sealed, the two enter the second growth phase. The master's body develops faster, stronger, taller, more powerful. The bound one changes too, but their form is subtly shaped by the master's spirit. She smirked slightly. So if a master prefers their partner a bit larger, the bound one's body will unconsciously adapt. The class burst into nervous chuckles. Dr. Jade let them laugh before her tone turned grave again. Their connection goes far beyond the body. The master's will shapes the bound's very essence, their strength, even their emotions. A quiet student raised a hand. Then, does that mean the master can control the bound completely? Yes, Dr. Jade said simply. Absolute control. The master commands, the bound obeys. That is the law of Celestara, the only inequality left in our world. Her fingers flicked, and the holographic board shimmered, forming two glowing silhouettes entwined in light. This bond lasts for life. Even death cannot dissolve it. If one dies, the other can never bond again. A chill spread through the room. Still, she continued softly, this rule, harsh as it seems, is what forged our civilization. Power seeks power. The strong protect, the weak endure. That's how we've survived through endless generations. She turned to the class, her expression hardening. But remember, this strength alone doesn't make you worthy. I've treated many who lost the ritual and couldn't bear the shame of becoming bound. Some even chose death. Silence. Only half of you will rise as masters, Dr. Jade said. The rest will belong to someone else. Ask yourselves, could you live with that? The students looked down, restless. Finally, one brave boy raised his hand. Dr. Jade, don't you think this system is unfair? Her smile was calm, too calm. Then she vanished. A heartbeat later, she appeared behind him. A thin blade pressed against his throat. Gasps filled the room. Even Darian, sitting near the back, flinched. He hadn't even seen her move. With my current strength, Dr. Jade said coolly, I could end your life in less than a minute. She looked around the silent class. Do you feel threatened right now? Heads shook. Exactly, she said, lowering her blade. Power doesn't always mean oppression. Sometimes it's protection. The same applies to the bond, she continued. When two souls love truly, the master's control means nothing. Their hearts are equal. She walked slowly along the aisles, her voice softening. Every year, I tell my students the same thing. Yes, everyone wants to win to be the master. But losing doesn't mean your life loses meaning. In true love, there's no hierarchy, no winner or loser, only choice. Dr. Jade stopped beside Elias, who had been lost in thought. You tell me, what did I just say? He hesitated, unable to answer. She leaned closer. Then remember this. Before you use your power to dominate an enemy, ask yourself, would you want to spend the rest of your life bound to someone you despise? Her eyes glinted. Because on Celestara, bonds are eternal. When class finally ended, the room erupted in whispers and chatter. Yet Elias sat still, her words echoing in his mind. Darian noticed, but before he could leave, Dr. Jade called out to him. You understood today's lesson? She asked. Darian nodded quietly. Good, she said. Then remember this. No matter who your opponent is or what it takes, you must win. His brow furrowed. Why? Dr. Jade's expression darkened. Last year, out of 102 students who completed the ritual, only 99 survived graduation. 3 ended their own lives. They couldn't accept being bound. Her words hit him like a blade. He understood then this wasn't just a ceremony. It was survival. She looked at him for a long moment. For some, submission means peace, but for others, her gaze hardened. Losing means destruction. Darian met her eyes. So you're saying, I only have 2 choices, win or die? Dr. Jade didn't answer. Her silence said everything. He gave a small bow. Thank you, Dr. Jade. I'll remember. As he turned to leave, he hesitated. Is the master's power truly that overwhelming? He asked. Dr. Jade's voice was quiet, but her answer carried across the empty classroom. I've never exaggerated anything. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. The Awakening Star. Part 1. The Ones to Watch. It was the most beautiful season on the planet Celestara, the time of year when young hearts stirred and even the calmest minds drifted toward romance. At the academy, rumors of new crushes and whispered confessions spread faster than the morning light. Everywhere you looked, pairs of students lingered under the starlit trees, hand in hand, as if the universe itself had written their names together. And even the staff, stern, disciplined, and supposedly beyond such emotions, couldn't help but recall the fleeting warmth of their own youth. But for one person, those memories were far from sweet. The headmaster, an enigmatic man known for his brilliance and his solitude, dreaded this season more than any other. Each year, his mental state wavered dangerously, and this year was no exception. In her office, Dr. Jade, the Academy's physician and mental health specialist, frowned as she read the diagnostic report. And, your readings are worse than last year, she said firmly. Your mind's instability has reached the danger threshold again. The headmaster rubbed his temple, exhaling a weary sigh. I only came for a small dose of medicine, Doctor. You know the outcome of these tests never changes. Dr. Jade folded her arms. And I have an obligation to monitor every staff member's mental health, especially yours. Her tone carried no hesitation, not even toward the man who ran the entire academy. You've lived in this state for over 100 years, she continued. By all logic, you shouldn't even be alive. The headmaster chuckled dryly. Yet here I am, still breathing, still functional, and not planning on giving up anytime soon. Jade sighed, reaching into the cabinet and pulling out a familiar bottle of tranquilizers. These will help you sleep, but please, use them sparingly. They damage the mind far more than they heal it. He accepted them with a faint smile. I'll try to behave. Try harder, she muttered. I'll have to file another report to the Central Psychological Control Bureau. Fine, he said. But don't forget to mention that I'm still perfectly capable of restraining myself. The way he smiled, tired, ironic, a little broken, made her chest tighten. She knew he was telling the truth, but only just barely. While Jade entered his data into the Academy's health database, the headmaster idly picked up her tablet, scrolling through the profiles of current students. Oh, what's this? He asked. Observation files, she replied. Students who need psychological monitoring. His eyes landed on one photo and froze. The boy in the image had sharp, proud eyes, defiant even through the screen. Darian, Jade said quietly. He's one of my high-risk cases. That kind of willpower refuses to submit. If he ever becomes a bound one, the consequences could be disastrous. The headmaster said nothing, flipping to the next record. Another student appeared, confident, radiant, almost glowing with youthful arrogance. That's Elias, Jade continued. He's ambitious and fiery, the kind who refuses to lose. The headmaster's gaze softened. At least their spirits are strong. Jade hesitated. Strong spirits don't always survive the ritual. He put the tablet down, ending the conversation. Once again, it looks like you'll have your hands full this year. She smiled faintly. That's what I'm here for. Oh, by the way, during our next physiology class, I want to take the students to visit the base. The base? He raised an eyebrow. I think it's important for them to understand where they came from, Jade explained. It'll help them know who they really are. He nodded slowly. A good idea. You handle the arrangements. Part 2. Secrets Between Friends. Elsewhere in the boys' dormitory, Elias stormed into a room without knocking, only to freeze on the spot. There, sitting on the bed, were his two closest friends, Lance and Bington, locked in a passionate kiss. Sorry, Elias stammered, eyes wide. He shut the door, took 2 steps back, and stood in the hallway with his brain short-circuited. When his thoughts finally caught up, he kicked the door open again. What the hell was that? The two broke apart. Lance simply shrugged, while Bington blushed crimson and looked away. It's exactly what it looked like, Lance said casually, draping an arm over Bington's shoulder. We're together. Together? Elias nearly choked. Since when? Lance pretended to count on his fingers. About 3 years? 3 years? Elias slid dramatically down the wall, drawing invisible circles on the floor like a man betrayed. You hid this from me for 3 years? Bington laughed softly and knelt beside him. We didn't mean to hide it. I just didn't want to make things awkward between us. Lance leaned back, smirking. He was afraid your fragile heart couldn't handle it. Bington shot him a warning look. Stop teasing. He's actually hurt. Elias sighed, then forced a grin. Fine. I'm happy for you guys. Really. He paused, then narrowed his eyes. So, which of you is going to be the master in the ritual? Lance squeezed Bington's hand. We'll let our strength decide that. They laughed, and for a fleeting moment, the tension melted away. But when talk turned to relationships, Lance nudged Elias playfully. You should worry about your own future. Everyone's pairing up these days. Elias groaned. Easier said than done. You can't just decide who to bond with. What about Darian? Lance teased. Didn't you once say you'd make him your bound one? Elias rolled his eyes. That was a joke. Funny, Lance said, smirking. Because rumor has it that Truk Nayat has been trying to win him over lately. Elias frowned. That weakling? Please, Darian deserves better. Don't underestimate him, Bington murmured. And don't forget, after the bonding ritual, the master gains part of the bound one's power. Some people would kill for a partner like Darian. Elias didn't reply. His jaw tightened, though he wasn't sure why. Part 3. The Base. Days later, the academy buzzed with excitement. We'd said. The 10th year students had received special permission to visit the base, the place where every person on Celestara had once awakened. For them, it was both familiar and foreign. They had all opened their eyes for the first time beneath those shimmering energy domes, then been assigned to schools like the academy to begin new lives. Now, for the first time, they would return to the very origin of their existence. Elias spent the evening before the trip exploring Celestara's public network, the Celestial Net. It was a massive, three-dimensional virtual world, half reality, half dream, created centuries ago by scientists who wanted to merge consciousness with space itself. Over generations, the system evolved into a multi-layered dimension where people could live, trade, and even feel as though they existed in another reality. The technology had shaped an entirely new civilization. Every citizen had a personal access portal and a digital ID card loaded with monthly living credits. Students like Elias used them for groceries, study materials, and entertainment. That night, wandering through the online shopping district, Elias entered a shop that boldly advertised, "We sell everything." The only person inside was a smiling boy his age. You really sell everything? Elias asked skeptically. Anything you can name, the boy replied. Try me. Before Elias could respond, the bell over the door chimed and Darian walked in. Elias's expression hardened instantly. You? What are you doing here? The shopkeeper grinned. Easy, easy. Customers are customers. Everyone's welcome here. Elias frowned. You don't even have any merchandise. The boy pointed to the sign. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want, I can find it. Games, alien specimens, celebrity autographs. He lowered his voice conspiratorially. Even adult films, if that's your thing. Elias nearly choked. You've got to be kidding me. Darian, unamused, turned to leave, but the boy stopped him with a single question. You two are from the academy, right? Elias blinked. Wait, how do you know that? The boy's grin widened. Because I'm from there too. Name's Trem Harper, though most people just call me the informant. The name hit them both like a spark. Trem Harper, the legendary forever student. 22 years old, still technically ungraduated, and a walking mystery of the academy. I sell information, Trem said with a wink, and I've got something you might want to know. Elias folded his arms. We're not interested. Are you sure? Trem leaned forward. It's about the base and the secret way to find your bonded partner from a past life. Elias and Darian exchanged a glance, half disbelief, half curiosity. Trem smiled knowingly. Now that, he whispered, is a story worth buying. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. The Veil of Sovereigns. Astronomers on Celestara still whisper about the Veil of Sovereigns, an ancient zone of the heavens near the North Star, an invisible constellation in the sky where destinies are weighed. Old philosophers used to say that under the Veil of Sovereigns, emperors kneel, and the heart speaks truth. Whether or not that's real, one thing is certain. Under these stars, choices carve the future. Part 1: The Scientist and the Line He Crossed. Elias didn't care much about past life soulmates. Not really. But when Trem Harper hinted there was a secret method, hidden inside the base, to identify your partner from a previous life, even Darian paused at the door and came back. "Are you sure there's a secret?" Darian asked. "I'm not," Trem replied without flinching. "It's a rumor. No guarantee it's true." Elias snorted. "So you sell lies now?" "I sell odds," Trem said, leaning on the counter of his We Sell Everything shop in the virtual marketplace. "Some will dismiss it as worthless. Others will pay for the slightest chance to change their fate." Darian cut in. "Name your price." Elias stared. "You're actually buying this?" Trem held up 5 fingers, an amount roughly equal to 2 months of a student's living credit. "That's the friends and classmates discount," he added cheerfully. "Strangers pay far more." Elias opened his mouth to protest, then saw Darian's payment card already out. The transaction was a breath away when Elias grabbed Darian's wrist. "Wait, split the cost with me," Elias said. "Half for each of us. You still get what you want, and it saves you credits." Darian studied Elias, then glanced at Trem. Trem shrugged. "I'll say it once. Whether one of you listens or both, it's the same to me." Darian nodded, and they paid together. Elias caught a glimpse of Darian's balance, so many credits saved that he barely blinked at the price, while Elias's own account bled down to painful digits. If this intel is bogus, he thought darkly, I'm coming back to dismantle this shop screw by screw. Trem rolled a slim ring between his fingers, then began. "All of this," Trem said, "goes back to Thane On, the former head of the base and a legend in the sciences. By rank, Thane could have traced the reincarnation path of any soul," Trem continued. "But the law forbids it, for good reason." "Why?" Elias asked, despite himself. "To protect the bonding system that keeps Celestara stable," Trem said. "You'll understand in a moment." Thane On's greatest public invention was a combat stimulant the military nicknamed Scorch, a chemical surge that pushes battle capability to the brink for a short time. Illegal outside the army, infamous everywhere. But brilliance had a shadow, Trem said softly. Thane lived an extraordinarily long life, 436 years at his last public appearance. Longevity means survival, and unending farewells. When his beloved bound one died and returned as a new, unknowing youth, Thane crossed the line. Elias stiffened. What did he do? He used his position to lock onto the soul's new vessel, Trem said, voice going flat. When the boy awakened, Thane abducted him. He would not allow the youth to bond with anyone else, ever. Darian's eyes narrowed. But the ritual, Dr. Jade said each soul gets only one chance to complete the coming-of-age bonding. If you miss it, that's it. Exactly, Trem said. Thane's obsession created a deadlock. He couldn't have the youth in the lawful sense, no ritual, no adulthood, and he wouldn't let anyone else have him. The boy was forced to remain a perpetual adolescent, never maturing, never free. Elias's hands curled into fists. Before his crime surfaced, Trem went on, Thane was secretly researching a way to dissolve an existing soul bond, to break Destiny's contract. That research never finished. His own student betrayed him, helped the captive youth escape, and alerted the military. What happened? Elias asked. When soldiers moved in to arrest him, Thane injected himself with an improved Scorch, 20 times more potent than the original. He cut through an entire regiment, stole the youth back, and vanished. He's been a ghost ever since. The room seemed colder. So your secret method, Darian prompted. During Thane's failed effort to dissolve bonds, he accidentally discovered a test, Trem said. A way to tell whether two people were lovers in a past life. The algorithm is rumored to be stored on his personal terminal. Where is it? Elias asked. In his private lab, Trem said. Somewhere inside the base. Somewhere is not helpful, Elias muttered. Trem smiled, snapped his fingers, and a tiny device expanded into a floating blueprint, a 3D floor plan of the base. This map alone is worth more than you paid. He handed Darian a slim, matte module. And this is a universal decoder. If you find Thane's terminal, it should crack his encryption. Loaner, not a gift. Bring it back when you return from the base. Elias and Darian exchanged a look. The rumor had just become a mission. Part 2. The Purification and the Tree. The long-awaited day arrived. Under Dr. Jade's supervision, the Academy's 10th years descended from the sky in sleek flyers and set down before the base's monumental gate sets. The doors were engraved with a single glyph. 0. 0, Elias read aloud, trying to sound wise. Lance elbowed him before he could deliver a corny pun. Ends. The students fanned out, gawking, snapping photos. Dr. Jade let them breathe it in, then called them close. Does anyone know why this place is named 0? She asked. Blank looks. 0 is the start of every positive number, she said calmly. The midpoint and the quiet end of every negative. To our people, this is the beginning of awakening, the pause between lives, and the center of the soul's journey. Wherever we die, our spirits return here to rest, be refined, and be reborn. She pointed toward the far north. A slender tower pierced the pale sky. That is the lighthouse of souls. It guides the departed back to us. If it ever failed, our dead would wander lost. Every citizen of Celestara bears the duty to guard that light. One day you will too. A hush fell. Even Lance, usually irreverent, stood straighter. Bington's eyes shimmered. I hear it, Elias whispered. Like it's calling me. Me too, Lance admitted, staring into the distance. Like something I forgot is just out of reach. Elias glanced sideways. Darian stood apart, face cool as stone. Yet beneath the calm, something gentler flickered in his eyes. He caught Elias looking, and the softness vanished in an instant, replaced with the familiar edge. Elias jerked his gaze away, heartbeat skittering for reasons he refused to name. Move along, Dr. Jade said, and they followed. They reached a crystalline enclosure where blue-green water slept in a wide basin. This is the purification pool, Dr. Jade said. When souls return, they bathe here. The devout call it washing away past sins. Scientists say it strips the outer layers of memory. She paused, then added quietly, I believe it also clears away the residue of emotion, the accumulation of fear, grief, anger, so the soul can be itself again. A girl raised her hand. If a soul skips the pool, would it keep memories of its last life? No such path exists, Dr. Jade replied. Without purification, the soul cannot enter the hall of rebirth. They walked on until a vast silhouette filled their view, a towering tree of souls. High in its canopy, a single sphere of light pulsed softly, no larger than a fist. Every new soul begins there, Dr. Jade said. It drinks the world's essence for a century before it's ready. That is why the soul is our most precious resource. Why only one is growing? Someone asked. She hesitated. Long ago, there were more. Perhaps the tree believes our world is nearing its balance. We've tried everything to hasten its growth. Nothing works. Fortunately, once born, souls are resilient. We are not in danger of vanishing. They absorbed that in silence. They passed a low, windowless building of heavy black stone, so stark it seemed to drink the light around it. No ornament, no welcome, just wait. Elias slowed, unable to look away. Dr. Jade, what is that? She exhaled, as if finally conceding a subject she'd hoped to avoid. That is the Abyss Corridor, she said at last. Long ago, it was the place where death sentences were carried out. A chill threaded the group. Even Darian's posture sharpened. Dr. Jade didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The message was simple. Some doors exist to be guarded, not entered. As the tour resumed, Elias drifted closer to Darian. Not too close, just near enough to share the same air. About Trem's rumor, Elias said, voice low. If the algorithm's real. We'll find it, Darian finished. And if it's not, we'll know we tried. They walked on, the lighthouse cutting a white seam through the sky, the tree humming somewhere behind, and the black building crouched like a secret no one wanted to touch. High above them, the Veil of Sovereigns watched in perfect ancient silence. End of Chapter 4. The story was adapted and retold for English narration. It is only beginning to unfold, and with every chapter, it grows deeper, more beautiful, more alive. If the Celestara Chronicles has found its way into your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll never miss what's coming next. And if this journey moved you, please share it forward. Your support helps me bring to life even more boy love audio retelling stories from different worlds. See you in the next chapter of the Celestara